Zidane Danny, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Nerd Chat here on Electro Ninja's Lab. I am here with my fellow host,
I'm Jack.
and Joker is not joining us today for some reason. But that's beside the point. So it has been a bit. Pokemon season is over officially, which is kind of insane to think about. Uh, Obviously, at this point in time, um, most Pokemon fans have completed the epilogue. Uh, Jack and Joker have not. But with that, pretty much the entire game is out of the way. The game is done, and we move on. Which is just kind of insane to think about. Like, we started out with the base game, which was and kind of still is a buggy mess, but we love it. And then with the DLC, things were really looking well, and then the epilogue happened, and it was like that was a good way to end it. I have to say, I really enjoyed the ending, and I'm not going to go over too many details since Jack hasn't watched it yet or hasn't played through it yet.
You know Jack's real about spoilers.
Huh?
You know Jack's real about spoilers.
You don't care?
Give a damn.
Yeah, I mean, true, but I don't know. I'll say this. It really hit home for me because of the fact that it after a long time, your character comes back together with their friends to go on one last adventure before the end of the game, and it was fun. And you get to you both have your 3 friends from the base game and your 2 friends from Scarlet and Violet, and they meet up together, and it's kind of fun. And
I feel like friends is a strong word for Carmen, but yeah.
Carmen's hardly involved.
Oh, who are the 2 friends you're speaking about then?
Carmen and Kieran, but Carmen's hardly involved.
Oh, and Kieran, well, he is his own thing.
Yeah. To be fair, he does from what you've seen, he hasn't like started to improve. He's still kind of a putz, but he is doing better. And he is he's basically back to his old self, but significantly improved. In like he's not as much of a whiny bastard.
Well, that's good because he started out kind of whiny.
Yeah, so he's not as whiny as he was in the first part of the DLC in the epilogue. And he's better. I do have to say that I thoroughly enjoy his character development and how he's improved. Carmine, really, you don't get too much from her. Like she's kind of been herself the way that she's been since the end of the first part. And she doesn't like she gets a little bit more improvement, but not by much throughout the last bit of the second part. And then there's like she's not really involved in the like herself is not actually involved with the main story of the epilogue. Which is a little bit sad and annoying, but at the same time it's also like, yeah, I mean, we've dealt with her. She doesn't really need that much. Like, we don't really need to deal with her that much. So that's just my thoughts on that. But basically, in the epilogue, she is being mind controlled by Petrant, and she's like the first person to get mind controlled. So it's just obviously she's not that involved.
Nice.
So yeah, I do have to say I do love the trio of basically the main legendaries of the DLC. Obviously there's Ogerpon, Terapagos, and Petrant, and all 3 of them are really well designed. I really enjoyed the 3 characters. I really enjoy also the it's Petrant as well as the Loyal 3 are basically in reference to a I think it might be it's either Chinese or Japanese. I think it might be both. It might just be Japanese though. but it's basically about a boy who comes out of who is born from a peach, and then he goes on an adventure with a dog, a monkey, and a bird.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah, and it's like it's not like the most well known myth, but it is something that is
No, but that's a nice Easter egg
Yeah.
that they put that in there. They're like, hey, by the way, if you know this obscure myth,
Yeah.
you'll get this kind of inside joke almost.
Yeah, like I think most at least it's not something that is really sent over here to the seas very much, like compared to like other like yokai or other Chinese mythologies and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
uh, but at the same time, it's like anyone who knows Chinese or Japanese
If you know,
mythology,
you know.
it's known. So yeah, so it's just kind of interesting. It's a fun little thing. Um, Terapagos is obviously the world turtle, and then Ogerpon is actually the ogre from the from that myth. So Ogerpon is actually involved with the original myth of the boy who comes out of the peach.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's kind of fun that that's like involved with that myth, but also it's kind of hilarious that it's basically completely on its head, where Ogerpon is actually the innocent, while Petulant is the and the Loyal Three are the bad guys.
Interesting.
Yeah. I also have to say I love the concept of the four masks for Ogerpon. Though I do wish that you could like actually hold different items besides just like the masks. So
True.
like I think what I would have done is make each of the masks a key item, and then you could basically use you would be able to use the item on Ogerpon, and that would change which one it is, which mask she's wearing, and then you could give it any other item. But with the way that it's
Is Ogerpon a girl?
huh?
Is Ogerpon a girl?
Yeah, Ogerpon's a girl. The entire the Ogidogi, Pheasantipity, and Monkey Dory are all boys.
Interesting.
Which is also another interesting thing because, in for most legendaries, they don't have a gender. But meanwhile, Ogerpon, as well as the Loyal Three, and I think Petulant might also be a boy, but I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to look at it. But those three specifically, and like I said, I think it also includes Petulant. They are all boys, while Ogerpon is a girl, and they're like the only ones that are actually specifically stated. Like I think, well, there might be other legendaries, but those are the big ones. Let's make sure. Let's go ahead and make 100% certain. Here we go. So yeah, so Ogerpon female, Okidogi is male, Pheasantipity male, Monkey Dory male, and then Petulant is non-gendered. Okay. Oh, I guess Terapagos is male though.
Interesting.
So I got so that is one that is gendered that I didn't really think about. But like yeah, even though Meloetta you would think oh female duh, no gender. Darkrai doesn't have a gender. None of the Paradox legendaries have genders. Mew and Mewtwo don't have genders. The birds don't have genders. Lugia doesn't have a gender. Kubfu is male, actually. The Swords of Justice are non-gendered. None of the four special legendaries are gendered. But basically, I don't think that any Pokemon, any legendaries are actually gendered except for the ones for basically the DLC, and it's just kind of an interesting thing. Like Kubfu was a DLC Pokemon as well. I don't know for sure if Calyrex was gendered. I'd have to look it up, but
yeah.
Same goes for the horses. I don't think that they were gendered. It might be though. Let's take a look. Calyrex. Does not say. And neither does the bird the horses are not gendered either.
Gotcha.
So, as far as wait, let me look one more time just to be 100%. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, just kind of an interesting thing to think about. And I don't think that I think it's just kind of interesting that it's like I said, it's a relatively recent development that they've actually been giving genders to legendaries. Oh, okay. So I'm actually wrong about Cub Fu. So Cub Fu is 87.5% male, 12.5% female. So it's extremely rare for you to find a Cub Fu / an Urshifu that is female, but yeah. So they can have a gender. They're just extremely rare. They can be female, but they're just extremely rare to see. But I don't know, just some fun things to think about that are just because, like I said, up until now, legendaries really didn't have genders. I think the genies do. The genies do have a gender, but it's like I said, rare.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just some fun facts for you. What was I looking for? Let's see here. So, yeah. So let's. So obviously we've talked extensively about the base game. Any little thoughts that you want to give based off of the base game right now, or?
I do think it was one of their better stories. It had some heart to it that I think was missing in some of the other ones. It gets a little tiring to just have the bad guys be bad for the sake of being bad, whereas, the quote-unquote bad guys in this one, they all had reasons that they were behaving the way they were, and it wasn't so much, oh, look how evil these fuckers are. It was, look at these people with real human struggles, and I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and honestly, that was like probably one of the best things about this game is like the story. It really feels like a departure from what they've done, and it feels like they really did put a lot of effort into writing the story. Obviously, there were issues with like the freaking what am I trying to talk about? The graphics that people have been complaining about those forever. Personally, I think they're fine. There are some issues, and honestly, I love the Pokemon designs. They look really nice and crisp, and I just love how they are looking. The world absolutely has issues, as well as the loading times. The loading times are atrocious. They need to fix that. They need to fix.
Yeah, they're a little bit weird, but nothing compared to Arceus, so I'm happy.
Wait, Arceus had loading problems?
Yeah.
I don't remember those. Maybe
it just took 5 ever to load, like in different places.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it was that was more of a loading screen issue. With this, it's more of just like, yeah, let me take forever to load. Meanwhile, it looks like your game has frozen, or here's like some huge issue where suddenly your ride Pokemon disappears. I think it's more common for Koraidon than Miraidon, but because yeah, I've seen in my Scarlet playthrough, I've seen Koraidon disappear a lot more often than I've seen Miraidon disappear in Violet.
I'll take that, yeah.
So, and that might just be due to the way that Koraidon and Miraidon are coded, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So, so there's that. So, and then there's also like other glitches that they've been slowly fixing. They have been fixing them, so I'm glad about that. I'm hoping that they will continue to fix them. Do I have hopes? We'll see. But yeah, obviously, so yeah, I think the biggest issue is just like the loading times and stuff like that. Um, but I do have to say that I do love the areas. It feels like a living, breathing world, and especially with like all of the trainers and random NPCs, it feels like there's actual living people for once, and that's kind of insane. Um, with obviously like especially in the towns where it feels lived in compared to like the original games. It was like, yeah, here's this uh, here's this big bustling town, nobody's in it.
Right?
Like that
That was wild.
that was insane. And it like it still kind of carries over in like their update in their remakes and stuff, but it's less noticeable. But I don't know, like the current like I'm loving that they actually feel inhabited, especially the big cities. The big cities feel inhabited. The small towns have people. Um, is it the correct number of people?
We'll say I wish you could go in the buildings,
Yeah.
but
Like the only buildings that you can enter are, I think, just the sandwich shops.
even then, yeah,
And the schools. The
yeah,
two
that's
schools you can also go into, and there's the one place in Kitakami, and that's it. So, yeah, it's
yeah.
just that's just kind of bizarre that there's like so few places that you can go into. Um, Meanwhile, back in like the original games, you could go into like 100 different places, and it was perfectly fine. Though I do have to say, probably the main reason for that is because of the loading times. So I don't know. I think that absolutely because imagine if you were able to go into every single building, you'd have to wait for it. You'd have to wait for the place to load. Going into those would be perfectly fine, but then when you go to the big areas, then it's like, oh, this is taking for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously more noticeable in the base game because of the fact that you have more to load. So I don't know. It's fine. It's whatever. Um, I would like to. I do hope that they continue to improve the systems. Um, but honestly, I think with the current capabilities, I'm not 100% certain if they should continue with the Paldea idea or if they should just due to the fact that they did struggle a lot with it. But at the same time, I think that they absolutely could do better. I think that they're going to continue to do better, actually. So I don't know.
I think that a Paldea style with a like well known, okay, this is the order you go in kind of thing. Um, like Paldea style, but numbering the paths again. So you know, Route 1 leads you to the first gym, and then you'll go to Route 2. And not that you have to follow those, but there's a clear
Yeah.
understanding
Yeah.
like that. And then also the Arceus catching mechanism, because please God.
Yeah. The Arceus. I think honestly, I think that they have good concepts if they combine the two. Like there are certain aspects
Yes.
from Legends that were really good, and there are certain aspects from Scarlet that were really good. Combine both of them, you might have like a really good system on your hands. Especially like the strong style and agile style. I love that. I understand why they didn't, but yeah. Same thing goes for like the evolution, the way that they handle evolution in Arceus. I think that was really good because you technically you could get any Pokemon you wanted to be a certain level, and you would just have to press a button to cause it to evolve. That was
Yeah.
and it was your choice whether or not the Pokemon evolved, and I think that that was a really good idea. Um, because a lot of times you don't necessarily want your Pokemon to evolve, like especially like I think like the big problem lately has been that a lot of people don't necessarily like the final evolutions for the starters. So let them just keep their original versions. I think that that would be fine.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that there would need to be some reworking for certain things, but besides that, I think it would be good.
Yeah.
So
I think you're right.
fair enough. Yeah. So there's that. So yeah. But I do have to say that I really did enjoy the starters. I think the worst design of all three of them was probably Quaquaval, but even still, it wasn't bad. It was just kind of, it could be better.
Yeah, and I got what they were trying to do with it. You know, it wasn't like
Yeah.
it wasn't weird. It wasn't. Oh my gosh, what are they trying to do here? I don't understand. It was okay. Yeah, I can see what you're getting at least.
Yeah. I kind of also love the memes of what if Blaziken was at bottom, and that's what
Literally.
and it's just like, okay, I didn't need those memes, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it was meme worthy for sure.
I didn't know I needed them until I needed them.
Fair.
I saw them and I was like, oh yes, no, I wanted that. I didn't know it, but I did.
Also, I do have. I know that a lot of people really didn't like the Palmy line to Palmot, but I liked it. I'm glad. I like that they that the Pikachu clone evolved. Actually, like I think that they could have done better because it looks that basically each like Palmy to Palmo, it just stood up. Palmo to Palmot, it got bigger.
Yeah, it was kind of lame, but it was like, all right, I don't hate this.
Yeah. I think that if they were to do it again, I think that they need to have a little bit more drastic of a change. Like,
yeah,
closer to Pikachu to Raichu, rather than...
Yes.
So, I don't know. Those are my thoughts on that. And most of the Pokemon were extremely well designed. I mean, I freaking named my Bramblin / Bramblegast after our hometown, so...
Mm-hmm.
Which, it's kind of nice. Like, I know that a lot of people didn't like the fact that there was a Tumbleweed Pokemon, but it's kind of hilarious.
It is, and the fact that it's just, like, a ghost inside a bush. Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's great. I love that. Also, I really can't understand why people don't like Flamigo.
Because it's literally just a flamingo. But then, if you're gonna make that argument, Voltorb.
Yeah, exactly. There's like so many other Pokemon that are like, yeah, it's literally just that that Pokemon or just that animal.
It's just what it is. Like,
but
yeah.
Also the Tatsugiri line, great. They look great. I love them. Especially the fact that they're just fish on sushi, or they are sushi. Sorry. So yeah, those guys are fun. And I'm also really glad of the new evolutions to certain Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, let's see. So if we go through this, let me make sure that I'm doing the correct group. So obviously, where was I? Here we go. So obviously there was Fergarath. Like, great. I love it. Same goes for Clodsire, just the alternate version. Great. Pretty much everyone loves Clodsire, so there's no issue with that.
Clodsire is the goodest boy.
Yeah. And, well, I do have to say that Dunsparce, I was kind of disappointed at first. I've grown to love him. Like, especially with...
It is kind of funny. Like,
yeah.
They kind of sat there and they were like, okay, you've been demanding this for so fucking long. Here you fucking go, you bitches. Like, that's, you know, like...
Yeah, like I'm actually fine with the way that they did it. I would kind of love for them to do like something even more stupid, like the 2 segment and the 3 segment each evolve into different things. Like, what if like one of them was actually like something really cool, but the more common one was just like this really shitty thing. Like, it just got another segment or something.
Right.
Or I don't know what it would be, but it would be like just something more stupid. Like, that would be fucking hilarious. But like the 3 since the 3 segment is rarer, like, have 3 segment to Dunsparce actually turn into something cool. But at the same time, I'm not expecting them to do that. That would be kind of stupid, but still funny. And then King's Gambit, absolutely great. A pain in the ass to evolve, but still great. Love him.
Mm-hmm.
I also, I'm glad that they changed frickin' Gita's team, basically the way that it goes. So from what I've looked at, it might just still be the in the so in her regular battle, it is still the way that it was, where it ends with it ends with Glamora and starts with freaking whatchamadiddle, with King's Gambit, which obviously is the opposite of what it should be. But I think like in her battle in the League Club room, that is where it actually is it is the correct way that it should be, where Glamora is the first one and King's Gambit is the last one. So
that's good.
Yeah, where it actually kind of makes sense. Just saying. Also, I do have to say, I love that Annihilate is literally he fought so hard that he actually died.
He gets so angry that he died.
Yeah. And at the same and it's kind of it is a reference to one of his old Pokédex theory things where they sometimes fight they sometimes get so angry that they just die. Their face does look peaceful in death, though. This is what happens the other times.
Right.
And then obviously the Paradox Pokemon, pretty much all of them are good. I do not have any notes. I love all of them.
I would have given them better names.
Yeah, I think that all of them should have gotten better names than just like, here are the scientific versions or whatever. And like most of that is mostly because of Turo being like the way that he is. Or also not necessarily just Turo, but also what's her name? Sada, yeah. Both of them are like extremely scientific people. They're kind of pieces of shit, but
true.
But at the same time, they were good villains.
Well written shitty people.
Yep, well written shitty people. So, and it totally makes sense why they would name all of the Paradox Pokemon these weird ass names. Because
yeah,
and like especially once you meet him for the first time, when you meet Turo,
Turo, yeah,
in the post game, it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, because he doesn't call Miraidon / Koraidon, whichever one you have, by their by the name that that you have. He calls them by their original by a completely different name that's kind of more scientific. And then you give him the name of Miraidon or Koraidon.
Interesting.
So, and that's why so that is why they are the only ones that actually feel like they're different. Because it's a paradox. But yeah. Also, I do have to say, I love the gimmick for Golden Go being the 1,000th Pokemon, and you have to get 1,000 Gimme Gold coins in order to evolve it. Like, it's annoying, but at the same time, I love the gimmick. So there's that. Also, the 4 legendaries that are locked away, I want more lore with them. Could we please get more lore for them? That's like that is one thing that I would really love to see in like a Legends game. Give us some more info about Wo Chen, Chen Pao, Tenlu, and Chiyu. Like,
yeah, definitely.
I don't know exactly
why a firefish. Like, why?
Yeah, and apparently, like each of them have like something to do with like a very specific item. Like Wo Chen is like the tablets, Chen Pao is the sword, Tenlu is the bowl. Chi-Yu is the beads. And, like, tell us more about this, please. And also, I think, like, I don't know. I'm not exactly certain how they're going to do that, but I would love to see more of what exactly they're going to do with them, because they need to be in a Legends game. What exact game that is, I have no idea yet, but my guess is that it's not gonna be a Legends Paldea. It's gonna be in probably one of the either the Japanese or the Chinese Legend games. Well, I guess my guess is that it's going to be one of the Japanese regions, because those are more likely to be coming soon. Um, because obviously at this point in time, it's looking like Legends Unova is going to be the next Legends game, and then my guess after that is going to be Legends Johto, whatever that's going to be called. And I could see in Legends whatever, Legends Celebi, let's say that's what it's going to be called. That is where we get to find out about the origins of Wo Chen, Chen Pao, Ting Lu, and Chi Yu, and how exactly that came to be. I'm not exactly certain what that's going to be, but at the same time, that's going to be cool. I don't know. And then also, the Legends Paradox is great. I don't have any notes. I do have to say, I thoroughly did enjoy seeing the Poltergeist Sinistcha line as well as the Dipplin line.
Agreed, definitely. Poltergeist has really come through for me.
Yeah.
Sinistcha right now is one of my main mons that I'm fighting with, and it's fabulous.
Yeah. Like, freaking Matcha Gotcha, so good. Such a good move, especially considering the fact that it attacks both of your enemies.
Oh my gosh. Attacks both your enemies and steals their HP? Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's so good, especially for the fact that you were literally going into the double battle section.
Yes, whoever came up with that, oh, chef's kiss, they need a raise.
Absolutely. And then Dipplin...
No notes on Sinistcha.
Yeah. Dipplin, I think, was a good Pokemon. I loved him. Everyone loved the caramel apple for its shiny. And then Hydrapple just takes the cake with...
I mean, seriously. I love... So, Applin, beautiful. Love Applin, love the concept, love the lore behind him. And then, after that, finding out Flapple. I love Flapple. Flapple's so fucking good.
The same goes for Appleton.
The only thing I don't love, Appleton.
Really?
Appleton, I think it's a poor design. I think it's stupid. I think it looks more like a dinosaur than a dragon, and I have a lot of problems with it. It just bothers me.
Though. That's my thing.
He's derpy and it's cute, but he's not something that I would be like shaking in my boots to see in a battle. He also just looks like a big dopey dinosaur, and I just don't like him. He just rubs me the wrong way. And then we got Dipplin, and I was like, okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, I can see what you're doing here. This is good. And then we got Hydrapple, and I was like, oh.
Also, the Serapents inside.
Yeah.
That's great.
Just no notes. Chef's kiss. Beautiful.
Yeah, and I'm honestly impressed that they decided to give us evolutions or alternate versions for Pokemon from the last game with this DLC. Like, Sword and Shield are not that old, but we got Poltergeist, we got Sinistcha, we got Dipplin, we got Archaludon, which I think Archaludon is good, but at the same time, it could be better. But
it's kind of just a bridge.
Yeah. A skyscraper turns into a bridge. Where have I seen that? Not really many places. It's still a good design, and I still like it, but at the same time, it could be better. I tried to use it a lot during my playthrough. And I did use it quite a bit, but at the same time, I think it could have been better. But also, I love Hydrapple. Hydrapple is perfect. Like, and then also the fact that Kieran is constantly using it, great.
True.
So, yeah. And then obviously the Paradox Legendaries through Parents Quest line. I love them. They're great. Speaking of Parents Quest line, I'm honestly impressed with how well they did her story, because it's just a side story and it's one of the smallest portions, but it hits so close to home for so many people, and I love it. I love the story. It's great. Especially like it's a lot better in the Teal Mask because of the fact that you actually get to talk to her a lot. You get to see what her thoughts are on all these things. Um, and I do have to say that I really did enjoy it. I was really glad that they did what they did. Um, and then just doing the quest line. I did it, like I said, it hit home for a lot of people. Especially because of the fact that she's literally going through a really tough time in finding her place in the world, and it's, I don't know, it hit home, and I love it. I love her story. She's great. And also, like I said, it's just insane to me that they gave us this much story for what amounts to a side story. I don't know. That's like, compared to like the main story, she's basically just a blip on the radar. But at the same time,
Yeah.
there's so much, and a lot of people fell in love with her character. Obviously, people fell in love with other parts of her, but that's beside the point.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. That's beside the point. Like I said, but also I do have to say I love Terapagos and the final bit of the story with him, getting to go into the caves with Kieran and Carmine and what's her name, with
Nimona.
Briar. It's with Briar.
Briar.
Yeah. Going into the depths with them to basically find out about Terapagos, and there's so much story with specifically Kieran and helping him to realize that he's still a very he's a good kid. He's a great kid, but at the same time he had some issues, and we basically help him out through that. And it's not that you are weak or anything like that, and it's that you just have a hard time. You had a hard time, and I think the big issue with him is that he feels like shit that the legendaries seem to gravitate towards us, the player character. And it is an interesting point of view because all of these times, all of these legendaries always go towards the main character, but there's only one of each of these Pokemon in the world, and the fact that they all go towards our character, despite the game, it's kind of just like, yeah, you would be if you were just a random person in the world, and you wanted to be like the very best, like no one ever was, and suddenly all of these legendaries are going towards this other person. You might be like, "What's wrong with me?" And
Yeah. Why am I not the chosen one, even though I have the hair?
yeah, pretty much. Oh my gosh. And that was like, and also with Ogerpon specifically, it was just that he felt like, I have cared about Ogerpon since the beginning. I have always believed in it, and yet this newcomer gets to have Ogerpon. What the fuck? And then when Terapagos comes out, and he's the one who's pulling him out. He's the one who is trying to connect with him, and instead, Ogerpon literally starts walking towards us in there, and then Kieran can't stand it, so he throws a Master Ball at it.
Fair.
So yeah, and then there's more to it than that, but yeah. And I'm not gonna go into too much of that story because it's actually really freaking interesting. But yeah. And then, as for the final part, the epilogue with Petrarunt and everything with that, I love it. And we already talked about how Petrarunt is literally the boy in the peach from that one story. And how they twisted that on its head and stuff like that. It's such a hilarious but also heart-wrenching story because it, like I said, you and your friends are hanging out after a long school year where you guys haven't really been able to hang out as much as you wanted to, and it's basically your last adventure of school, and it's your last adventure of the game, and you get to see how your characters have grown, how each of them have been doing their own thing, to the point, and it's heartwarming getting to hang out with them. And like I said, it's a very heartwarming moment, and it reminds me a lot of like when we get together in person and actually get to hang out. It We can see the differences in our lives, but at the same time we can remember the good times. We can talk about all those good times and the bad times, and we can just be. And that's one of the reasons why I love the story. Absolutely. Once you finish the main story, absolutely play the epilogue. It's so good. Um,
Yeah.
and then the stuff, and then later on with Petrunt, and having to go through the battles and stuff like that. That's also a lot of fun. And it's hilarious because pretty much everyone is dancing the funky chicken, and just yelling mochi the entire time. And it's freaking hilarious. It's basically a zombie apocalypse, but in the most hilarious way possible. Like, it's clearly supposed to be hilarious, or it's clearly supposed to be both terrifying and hilarious. And it doesn't really do the greatest job with the terrifying part, but the hilariousness is great. So, yeah. What else is there to really talk about this series? I don't know. Can you think of anything off the top of your head?
Not really.
I mean, fair. I do have to say I loved pretty much every new Pokemon this time. It was really hard for me as I was playing through the game to really choose a team for any part of the playthrough. Like, I knew I wanted to use the Armarouge and Ceruledge in each of my playthroughs, which is part of the reason why I never chose Fuecoco, except for in my chef playthrough. And I'm still gonna choose. I'm probably gonna be going with all three starters for my next chef playthrough.
Yeah.
Because I have all of them. Why not? Pretty much. So yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna do that for the chef playthrough, and yeah, it's just kind of so as that's the case, Armarouge and Ceruledge just don't really work that well for that. But at the same time, they were a great part of the team. Garganical was also a great part of the team. Like, with such an early Pokemon, but it's so good with Salt Cure.
True.
Like, I can't. There are so many battles where I probably wouldn't have won if it wasn't for my Salt Cure going. And
that's valid, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. I didn't really use the Smoliv line that much, and I mostly used the Fido line because it's cute, but I got rid of it pretty early on, unfortunately, just due to the fact that it was not the best. It's literally just a fairy type, and it could have been better. It's not that.
It was cute, and I will say I like Darkspun's ability that it can have, where it doesn't take any fire damage.
Yeah.
That was cool. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's great for fire for the fire gym, or the fire team leader, I should say. But beyond that, it's like, do I really need it? And besides,
yeah,
and like you have Knackley, you have the Knackley line, you have the by that point you will have probably have gotten a good fire members to your team, because the Charcadet line is before you get you can unlock Charcadet, you can get Charcadet, I should say, before you face off against the fire gym leader or the fire team star person.
True.
But like, unfortunately, you can't really use them very well for either of the really good uses for the fire type. But at the same time, it's like you can still get Charcadet and use him, and then once you get Ceruledge / Armarouge, it's like, Yeah, use them. They're great. They're great Pokemon. Um, I do have to say that I think I prefer Cerulege, mostly because of the fact that it has the Bitter Blade thing.
True.
Like that move is so freaking helpful, especially like if you think that you could take damage. And yeah, so I do have to say I love that. But also I was really glad for the first Grass Fire Pokemon this gen with Scovillain. Um,
That was a lot.
yeah, I tried to use him as much as possible, but at the same time, he was kind of a hard Pokemon to use in general.
Yeah.
And I think that was just like that might have just been like maybe some things need to be worked on. Um, and yeah, like I said, I tried to use him as much as possible, but at the same time, like it really wasn't the greatest time to be using him. Um, also, Finazin slash Palafin. I was glad to have a dolphin, and I used him a lot. He was my main water type Pokemon, and great Pokemon. I loved him. I do have to say though, it was so annoying to evolve in the fact that you had to use a Union Circle in order to evolve it.
Definitely.
So there's that. Um, but also the Tinkaton line.
On death's doorstep.
Seriously, yeah, Tinkaton was probably my main MVP. Honestly, consider like besides my starter and later on with Cerulege, I don't know. It's hard to say because I think my final team was Masquerada, uh, freaking Garganical. I don't think Cerulege was in that team, um, but because I had Scovillain. And then Tinkaton was definitely in there, and Palafin was in there. I don't remember. I think I had one other, but I'm not remembering who it was at the time. But yeah, but yeah, all of those guys were great. I do have to say that it was kind of annoying that so many Pokemon were way harder to get in the regular game, but then as soon as you go into the depths, it's like, oh, this is super easy to get. You can just grab a Farigiraf just out in the wild. You can just
Yeah.
And then what else was there that was just out in the wild? All obviously Dudunsparce was out in the wild. There was something else though. Glimora. Glimora was out in the wild. And a lot more common than Glimmet ever was in the main game. Like technically, you could have gotten a Glimmet to Glimora pretty early on, but at the same time, Glimmet is just kind of not the most obvious Pokemon. So then when you get so while you can go and find it, you then have to figure out how to evolve it, which I think is just level 35. But first you have to find the Glimmet, which, like I said, pretty rare Pokemon, honestly, which is weird. But at the same time, it kind of makes sense because of its special ability, where if it gets hit, then it releases toxic spikes.
That is true.
So, yeah, so it makes sense, but at the same time, it was just I don't know. I remember now what the final Pokemon was in my team. It was freaking Excalibur, the pseudo legendary of the game.
Right, I did love that guy.
Yeah, like he's good. I would have to say I don't think that he is my favorite of the of all of the different pseudo legendaries, but at the same time, I do have to love the actual Godzilla. And especially his signature move where he literally flips upside down and hurls himself at your opponent, just like freaking. Just like how Godzilla freaking flies. It's hilarious. I do have to say I absolutely love Excalibur. I think that he could have been it's just kind of forgettable compared to like other pseudo legendaries. So, I don't know. I think it's good, but at the same time, it could have been better. So those are my thoughts. It's kind of hard to say what else there is to really talk about this game, because we've talked extensively about the game over years at this point, because it has been out. It's been out for 2 years now, right? Or am I crazy?
It has. No, I think
it's been out for a
just
year,
one.
and it's as of November, I want to say.
Yep.
So yeah, and I mean, for this whole year, we've talked about Pokemon, and yeah, I think that it was a well-made game, and I'm glad that they did what they did. I think that there are absolutely some things that they could improve, and I think that they will improve as time goes on. And while it may not be through Scarlet and Violet, I think that they've learned a lot from this experience, and I think that when we eventually reach Gen 10, I think it might be one of the biggest generations of all time. I think that I could honestly see Gen 10 being the ultimate Pokemon game. Where
agreed. And they better do something amazing for Generation 10, because I mean,
like, that is one of the biggest generations that ever, because 10 years of Pokemon. One of the things that I would I think that this is asking a shit ton.
You do realize it's going to be like 35 years of Pokemon.
Yeah.
Or no, like not 30, but 25 years of Pokemon this year.
Yeah. So, wait, this year is 35?
25.
This year is 25. So we're not getting Gen 10 this year.
No. This year will be 30. Excuse me.
This year will be 30. Okay.
Yeah.
So, with this year being 30, we're not. First off, we're not getting Gen 10. I don't think.
No, but I would be shocked if we didn't get something.
Yeah, 100%. I think that we are going to be getting at least a Legends Unova game this year. But I wouldn't be surprised if we also got a Legends Johto game. Maybe more, actually. I could imagine them giving us a Legends game for nearly every single region. It sounds like a lot. But, yeah. Like, at this point in time, Legends Unova would be just Unova. And then Legends Johto would probably be both Johto and Kanto. Because there's really not that much in Kanto for them to do, for them to do a Legends game.
True.
So, Legends Johto just had the more stuff. So, with Legends Johto, I think that they're also going to do Kanto. It might be the Kanto Johto war that people have always theorized about, but I kind of doubt that, because that sounded more recent. In most people's theories, but
you never know.
Yeah. So, like,
I do gotta get going though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. It's this is probably a good spot to end it. But
Yep.
yeah. So, what I imagine for this year, Legends Unova or Legends Johto, and then next year after is probably going to be Gen 10, which insane to think about. Who knows? It'll be fun. But anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure to leave a like, leave your thoughts and theories down in the comments below, and we will see you guys next time. But on,
Dork.